Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to talk about Infinisation. And today I want to talk about who can Infinisate and who cannot. All right, who should Infinisate and who should not. Actually, I want that to be very clear: should, not can. All right, okay. So, Infinisation. What the heck are you talking about, Scott Garibay? Yes, that's correct. This is a freighted term, and if you don't understand what the definition, you cannot go 1 second further in this video because you'll have no context to understand what I'm saying. Link below, there's one video that explains Infinisation in detail, and there's another link for a playlist which has well over a dozen videos at this point going into high detail on Infinisation. All right, let's go. Okay, so who should not Infinisate? Okay, yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Atheists and agnostics should not Infinisate. They should not Infinisate, okay? They should not bring over a Dungeons and Dragons player character over the infinite staircase defined by Justin, Ramin, Armin. And the reason why is they are not a good home for a infinite ally. They cannot build a good home for an infinite ally. So this is interesting. So there was a period a few years ago. Yeah, it was actually probably about a few years ago. All right. Where my family was like, hey, oh, that's right. We got involved. Our family came across this person who's really into dog rescue. Right. And you know, she like talked up our family, and our family was like, okay, we'll give it a try. You know, all these poor dogs need a home. Okay. Yeah. And so she's like, oh, thank you so much for trying this. The people will be at your house on Tuesday. And I was like, what? Like, and she's like, yeah, they have to come and see your home to make sure that you guys are a safe space for the animal. And I'm like, what? Like, because I remember when I was a kid, my mom and dad got dogs from the pound, and they would just go to the pound and pick one. It was that simple. Nobody had to check the home, right? And so she goes, oh, no, don't worry at all. You don't worry it at all. Like, it's no problem, right? You guys have a wonderful home. I wouldn't have said this, you know, if, I wouldn't have, even suggested this if I thought for 1 second you guys wouldn't pass immediately. This is going to be a rubber stamp, right? And I was like, okay. But already I was like, oh, I don't know, man, this sounds nervous. I'm getting nervous about this, right? So, because it just sounded weird. I'm like, what? Like, it got weird, right? So this person comes over, and everything's going great, and the person has a big smile on their face, and they're like, oh, it's going to be so nice and then she comes across one area of our home, and she goes, what's this? And I was like, that's the thing, right? We go to a field and stream club and use that. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, yeah, like it's, it's a device we have in our home. We've had it for a couple of years now. Is there a problem? Yes, we can't bring a dog into a home with one of these devices. And I'm like, what? Like, she's like, I'm sorry, this interview is over. And she just left in a huff. It was like, you own like a device that many hunters own, and you're off the list. This isn't a safe home. And I was like, oh, wait, what? Like, what are you, like, it shocked me. And I'll tell you right now. So I think some members of my family talked to that lady. I've never talked to her since. And she's never been in her home since. The lady who, like, tried to get us to rescue a dog, right? Because they told us no, and it got weird. And they were like, you're not a safe home, right? Well, guess what? I felt terrible at that time, but I'm about to do it to atheists and agnostics. You are not a good home for an infinite ally, right? Like, so this is the point, right? So we were denied, and I think that dog, that dog was at a shelter where they, you know what I'm talking about, right? One of those ones that, like, PETA don't really like, one of those shelters who, like, don't have enough room for all the dogs that are coming in. And so I think that dog is probably just like, went to another realm, like, because we couldn't help it, right? Like, and which is shocking to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Right? Like, it was very upsetting. Right? It was very upsetting, right? But we were told you are not a good home for this pet, right? Like, you're not a safe home for this pet, right? Holy cow! So really, yeah. Now, to that person's point, we no longer have that device because I was shocked that it, you know, owning one single instance of that device, right? Like, well, I guess at the time we had more than one. Now we have 0, right? Like, so I get maybe that, I don't know. Maybe that lady was right? Like, but I'll tell you right now, we're never going to rescue a dog. Like, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never being told no by some schlumpty in Birkenstocks. You know, like, it was, yeah. But I'm about to do it to atheists and agnostics. Atheists and agnostics should never infinisate. Should never do infinisation. They should never bring a player character over the infinite staircase. Why? Because infinite allies live at the junction, right? They live at the vector directly between the psychological, the metaphysical, and the supernatural. They live on the astral plane, right? They are transferring from a fantasy world to a, you know, from a D&D 5e world, right, to the IRL. They are fundamentally supernatural, every single one of them, right? How do we know that? Because 0 5e settings, 0 Dungeons & Dragons 5e settings, 0 Dungeons & Dragons 5e settings do not have deities. They all have deities. They are all proven by the rules of their own world, right, to have deities. They are supernatural worlds. And you're like, wait a second, Scott, Dark Sun. Right. Dark Sun is not a 5th edition world. It was never brought through, right? Like, it was in 4th, it was in, I think it was in 3rd edition, right? It was in 3rd edition. And, whoa, maybe that came in 2nd edition. It did. Oh my gosh, Dark Sun came in 2nd edition with Brawl. Holy cows. And they were like, there's no gods. And every Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition designer was like, you can kick rocks. Every single one of our worlds has D&Ds. It makes 0 sense to bring in Dark Sun. And they haven't. They've excluded it carefully amid many, many cries of gimme 5e D&D, right? And they're like, nope. Every single realm of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is supernatural. So these infinite allies are supernatural, which means if you are an atheist or an agnostic, you can kick rocks. Do not bring a player character through from the infinite staircase because you can't support it. You can't make a safe home for it because you don't fundamentally believe what is necessary. You are not a person of faith of any kind. You are a person of ignorance. You are a person of void. You are a person of nothing. And you cannot provide a safe home for an infinite ally. So don't bring one over. I don't think you should bring one over, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. And the important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.